Hi folks, tonight I'm filming my contest entry for Cloudy Mulder's 300 subscription contest. He's asked for a number of items revolving around the number 3. First, he wants an album where the artist title or song title contains the number 3, or he said be creative, which I plan on being very creative and hope it gets me through. Then he wanted 3 third studio albums for a bonus entry, and then he wanted 3 albums where the band is in its 3rd lineup for another bonus, and I plan on getting all of it, absolutely all of it, I hope. So let's get started. My album where I'm going to be a little bit creative here, because there were some kind of obvious choices, but my main entry is going to be Faith, Hope, Love by King's X. What has that got to do with the number 3? Well, the title is derived actually from a verse in Scripture. It's, let me pull it up here. 1 Corinthians 13:13. The New International Version says, "And now these 3 remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." So we actually have a scripture, piece of scripture referring to the number 3 containing this album title, Faith, Hope, Love. Okay. It's also representative of the number 3 because King's X is a power trio out of Houston, Texas. Doug Pinnick on vocals and bass, Ty Tabor on guitar, and Jerry Gaskill on drums. So that's the second 3 in this, but there's a third 3. This is also their 3rd studio album. That's what the disc looks like. And the back of it, same as the cover on the inside. So, Faith, Hope, and Love, King's X. It's very, very good album. Not sure if it's as good as their first 2, but there are some songs on here that I really love. It's Love, Moan Jam, We Are Born to Be Loved. Just a lot of good stuff on that album. Okay, so the second thing he asked for was 3 third studio albums. And I have 3. The first is Barnabas, Approaching Light Speed. And all of a sudden I can't remember the titles of their first 2 albums, but this is their 3rd studio album. They had played around with different musical styles on their previous 2 albums, including elements of hard rock and metal, but this is where they got serious about being a heavy metal band. It's one of the first Christian metal albums. It came out in 93, I believe. 83, I'm sorry. Came out on Light Records. It's also unique in that Barnabas was fronted with a female lead singer, Nancy Jo Mann, and that was just kind of it's kind of unusual in metal anyway, but to be one of the very first Christian bands, I thought that was kind of unique. The second studio album, or third studio album, GX Project, Raise Some Hell. This was I guess the new band formed by Rex Scott, who used to be in the band X Center. Probably got a little bit of a AC/DC type sound to it, though I hate to put that on them because I know X Center always got called that, and that's just simply probably not fair to their sound. But Raise Some Hell is my third studio album. And my third is a classic. In November, I saw this band play this album from front to back at the Mercury Ballroom here in Louisville. And that would be Stryper, To Hell with the Devil. I had to pull it off the wall for this video. I don't think I need to talk too much about this classic album. Love that limited edition cover. Just beautiful. Okay, now this is where I really had to do some work. The third studio, or the third lineup albums were pretty rough. Had to really do some research on that. Don't know, maybe I'm getting old and can't remember as much useless information as I used to, but alright, so let's go start with the albums with third lineups. The first album is from, this is the only band that's not metal, it's the 77s. This album, though it doesn't have a title on it, is often referred to as the Pray Naked album. There's a little controversy. Mike Rowe wrote a song on the album, the title track, Pray Naked, and it was simply a song about praying earnestly, praying honestly when you pray. And the Christian labels kind of balked at the idea of calling it Pray Naked. I guess they didn't feel it would look good in Christian bookstores. I think people are a little smarter than that, but anyway, they didn't like it. So you can even notice, I don't know if I got good enough resolution, but there's a bar right there, and that bar is simply where, I guess, Mike being kind of the rebel that he is, just had him bar out Pray Naked so it doesn't actually show up on the song list on the back. I guess I should talk about the lineup a little bit. So the 77s, when they started out, were Mike Rowe on guitars and vocals. He's been the one constant in the band. Mark Tootle on guitar, Jan Eric on bass, and Mark Proctor on drums. After the first album, Mark Proctor left, and Aaron A. Train Smith, took over on drums. And that lineup stayed the same for 2 albums. This is their 4th album, and for this album, Aaron Smith stayed, and David Leonhardt came in on guitars, and Mark Harmon came in on bass. So that is their 3rd lineup. And that's the 77s, Pray Naked, The second band and second album is One Bad Pig, Ice Cream Sundae. Now, One Bad Pig, this is their fourth album again. On their first album, Kerry Womack calls himself the lead screamer. Paul Kupek is the lead guitarist. The bass player was Kevin Phelan on their first album, and Jan Taylor on drums. I believe that album was called A Christian Band, but it was spelled B-A-N-N-E-D, Christian Band. The second and third albums were Smash and Swine Flu, I'm sorry. And for those two albums, Phelan and Taylor were replaced by Streak Wheeler on bass and Philip Owens on drums. So when it came time for Ice Cream Sundae, Lee Haley joined on guitar, adding a second guitar to the group, and Daniel Tuchek came in on bass. You should note that this album, one of the tracks actually featured a guest vocal by Johnny Cash, and that was the One Bad Pig's cover of Man in Black. Very cool cover. So if you ever wanted to hear Johnny Cash sing metal, that's the album. And he actually did. I've seen pictures of him with One Bad Pig, so he didn't just phone in a vocal. He actually met the band in the studio, which is very cool. Alright, my last entry in the third lineups is White Cross in the Kingdom. On their first album, their rhythm section was Jan Spool on bass, Mark Heidel on drums, and on their second and third albums, it was Rick Armstrong on bass, Mike Elliott on drums, and on this, their third album, Butch Reed here on the end, and Mike Fagan on drums, with, of course, the guitar hero Rex Carroll and lead vocalist Scott Wenzel. Carroll is simply an amazing player. So that's my three albums with on their third lineup. So I believe I have covered everything. I know this particular entry is awful heavy in Christian metal. That's not all I listen to, but it's probably what I know best. And so I just felt like on something this complicated, I better bowl in the lane I know. So that's what I did. Maybe it's fitting being Easter that I'd do that. So that's my entry. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope you'll check out some of those bands. They really are some fabulous bands, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.